a Grand Canyon experience, but more intimate.
It was the most peaceful, most beautiful place I think I've ever been in my entire life.
Just have fallen in love with this canyon.
I don't think there's very many places on the earth like this. You've heard of the Grand Canyon and Monument Valley, but what about Canyon de Chelly? Most people completely skip it, and today we want to show you why this is a special spot to stop.
We're Matt and Cheryl, and we've helped over 20,000 people travel to the American West through our travel guides.
And today we want to share with you why Canyon de Chelly should be on your bucket list.
So we've just spent the last 2 days here at Canyon de Chelly doing everything we possibly could, and we want to share some of the reasons why it's special to us, and then also at the end of the video we'll share some tips if you're going to visit.
So the first reason to visit here is because it is so scenic. Canyon de Chelly has 2 rim overlook drives, and then it also has a tour that you can do at the bottom of the canyon. And let me tell you, every single one of them is beautiful.
Oh yeah, so we're standing here in the north rim right now. You can see the canyon behind us a little bit here, and the viewpoints are just astounding. I mean, I just have fallen in love with this canyon. It is really wonderful to look at from the viewpoints up above. Now, there's only one way to get to the bottom of the canyon, that is through an authorized tour that we'll talk about later, but just admiring it from the viewpoints is really like a Grand Canyon experience, but more intimate. That's kind of the way I felt about it, because it's not as deep as the Grand Canyon or even Zion National Park. It's not as deep. It's similar in that there's these tall red rock walls and a canyon at the bottom, but it's only maybe about 1,000 feet from the canyon rim down to the floor, which makes it feel like it's just a lot closer to you. And I don't know, I thought that was kind of a special thing about it.
And we're here in the middle of April, and right now it's very beautiful and green. There are cottonwood trees down at the bottom of the canyon, and the leaves just pop. The sky is this really bright blue color. And even just when you look at some of the plants down at the bottom, of course there's the green trees, but also some of the bushes kind of have a bluish color, and so it's kind of a rainbow for your eyes. It's just so pretty. And a really special thing that I think makes it scenic is the wildlife here. When last night we were watching a sunset at Spider Rock. That's like the best spot to go catch a sunset, and there were vultures circling around, which doesn't sound awesome, but it was.
It was awesome. There were so many of them.
Yeah, there was like 20 of them, and just seeing them like circling around that spire was pretty incredible. And then as you drive around, whether you're at the top of the canyon or the bottom, there are wild horses. And we even saw a baby earlier today. It was wonderful. Just like, and it's not hard to find them. You don't need to go on a special tour to find the horses. They're just around.
They're just around all over the place. Now, there are 8 viewpoints on the south rim and 3 viewpoints on the north rim. They actually look into different canyons. So there's kind of 2 canyons here at Canyon de Chelly. The one on the south is Canyon de Chelly. The one on the north is Canyon de Muerto, I think is what they call it. But the most famous viewpoint is Spider Rock. I mean, if you see images of Canyon de Chelly, if you think about going there, Facebook and Instagram will spy on you, and they'll start pulling up those images and all that. And the most famous one is Spider Rock, which is this really tall spire. It doesn't look like a spider. I'm not really sure why they call it Spider Rock. We'll have to learn that. But anyway, that is a really great one to do at sunset. So that's what we did. And that's where the vultures were, circling around the spire. But I thought some of the other ones were just as great, seeing some of the farmland below and all that. So really cool.
Okay, the next thing that's special are the Navajo-led guided tours. So as Matt mentioned, to go to the bottom of Canyon de Chelly, you have to go on a special tour. And we did that today. We went on a 4-hour tour. It was private, so it was just us and our guide. And it was wonderful because these canyons are always beautiful from the rims, but to see it from the bottom up is a whole different experience. And something that was really cool about it was that from the rims, you can see all these cliff dwellings, but they're difficult to see because you have to use binoculars. They're very far away.
And a lot of them are down low on the canyon walls.
Yes, but you get to the bottom of the canyon and all of a sudden those things are not that far away. We still took our binoculars and we were able to see them even better, but you could see them with your naked eye very well. And it was really quite an intimate experience to be up close with those cliff dwellings. And the other thing was there are tons of petroglyphs down there. Colorful ones, I guess colorful ones are pictographs, but petroglyphs and pictographs, tons of them. And to hear her stories with it was incredible.
And they were different than the ones we had seen a lot in Utah. So these were done by the Navajo, a lot of them. Some of them done by the Hopi, some of them were done anciently, but a lot of them were done by the Navajo more recent, like in the last maybe 500 years or so. And so a lot of those had horses in them. They're more recent when there's horses in them. But they looked a little different. Some of them were more detailed. They were very interesting to see, and some of them told a story and all that. Now, all the tours are done by Navajo guides. So this park is pretty interesting in that it is jointly run by the National Park Service and the Navajo Nation. So the Navajo Parks and Rec is in on this as well. And so all the tours at the bottom of the canyon are done by Navajo guides. And the only way to get into the canyon is by paying a fee to the Navajo Parks and Rec department. So the only way is to do a tour, or there is one trail that you can hike from the rim down into the canyon, but you can only do it when there is a Navajo Parks and Rec person there that collects the fee and opens it. And that was not open while we were here, but that's the only way you can get down there. So all the other trails, hiking trails, are closed. There's no other hiking trails that you can do except through the guide, or you can do ranger guided hikes. They have those occasionally. They just weren't going when we were here. But the rangers, the national park rangers, will take you on some hikes. So those are the ways to get in.
All right, the next thing to know that makes this place so special is that it is so peaceful. So we are here mid-April on a Tuesday. The parking lot is empty. We have experienced zero traffic or zero parking problems as we have gone about this park the last 2 days. We just can't believe like that we are getting these views and this experience without sharing it with thousands of other people. Something that goes along with the peacefulness is the easiness of planning a trip like this. We weren't having to get reservations. We weren't having to book our hotel 13 months in advance. We were doing nothing like that. This was like kind of hop in your car, go to the visitor center, get the map, go to the viewpoints, and they even have same day tours available. And so like this was very easy to do. And then I have to say that when we got down to the bottom of the canyon on our tour, it was the most peaceful, most beautiful place I think I've ever been in my entire life. I wish that this whole trip, you know what I've been regretting is I didn't bring a camp chair with me, because all I want to do is just find a peaceful spot to sit and just enjoy it. And you could do that whether you're on the rim or in the bottom, but oh my goodness, such peaceful. You can hear the birds chirping, and it's just, I don't think there's very many places on the earth like this out there left that are not just overly filled with tourists and people. This was just very natural and very peaceful.
You would think maybe with a lot of the tours going into the canyon on the Jeeps that it might be a little noisier, that there might be a lot of people in there, but there was not. And they don't have to follow like one set pattern where they go to the same sites and show you. Our guide took us to just some of her favorite places in the canyon. She grew up exploring the canyon, and so she had kind of her personal favorites. And so we were in some of these areas where it was just the three of us. Just the three. Nobody else even close. And it's crazy. There's so much history, cliff dwellings, and all this stuff, petroglyphs and all that in the canyon. Like there's no way you could see it all.
No.
You know, you just have to do the tour and let them show you their favorite stuff. And that was really special and so peaceful.
Yes, okay. The next thing that made this place so special was the education experience we had here. So often when we visit the national parks, we are learning about Native Americans because the Native Americans were here first. And, you know, you look at the displays and you try to learn about it. But here you are getting on the ground with a real Navajo experience. I mean, even if you don't do a tour, the Navajos are working in the gift shop, in the restaurant, and the visitor center. And there's no better way to learn about another group's culture and their beliefs than by actually talking to someone that lives within that culture, and that's them. When our tour guide took us around, she told us stories about her people and their beliefs. She took us to this panel that had a lot of petroglyphs of horses, and she told us a story of her people that when the men went away hunting, some Ute Indians wanted to come attack them, and the women had always been raised to be very passive and not aggressive. They liked their nurturing spirits, and so they really tried to preserve that in the women, but they knew they had to defend themselves, and so they thought of a way how they could protect themselves, and so they gathered some of this flower out here in the desert that causes hallucinations, and they mixed it in with the fruit, and then their children fed it to the horses of the Utes that were going to attack them, and the horses started to hallucinate and just run amok and cause problems, and the women and the children were protected, and that's why they're a matriarchal society. And these were all things that I never would have picked up reading off of a plaque at a visitor center, but hearing it from our guide and the stories of her family and the generations before her made it so much real, and just to help me understand the Navajo people a little better.
Yeah, one interesting thing is they don't have interpretive panels at the overlooks. And so like the park is almost, I think of it in layers, because if you just come and do the overlooks, you can enjoy the scenery, just the beautiful scenery and the beautiful canyon with the green canyon floor. That's great in and of itself. You're not going to get that experience of learning about the Navajos or just anything about the canyon really from the overlooks. The visitor center is small. It doesn't have a lot in there either. And so the tour really is the way to go if you want that educational experience about the canyon. And it's not just the scenic canyon, it's got all these stories associated with it. I mean, wow. Okay, the next special thing for me is that people still live in the canyon. So this is really unusual with the national parks. I mean, the National Park Service, they take over things and then they actually try to kick people out. So whether it's settlers or whether it's Indians, they try to kick them out and make it like a pristine natural experience. I think what was really, really cool about this is that there's farmlands down there and there's homes. And so I think she told us about 83 people have property in the canyon, and there's 2 that live in the canyon year round. And so like you're driving through there, and you know there's farmlands with the fields that are plowed, and there's little homes and their pets and their animals and their cattle or whatever. And so I thought that was really cool. Now, one of the stops, we stopped at this amazing ruin, and I was just kind of falling in love with the dwelling. And as we were leaving, there was a vendor there, a guy, a Navajo, who was selling some of the rocks that he carves his images on. And uses a metal knife and kind of carves them into the rock and then sells them. And I took one look at this rock, and he had carved in the ruin there that we were looking at, and I thought it was spectacular. And I said, I got to have this, so I bought it for, to have in my office. But the guy was telling me, he goes, "Oh, you got Spider Rock on your shirt." By the way, I got my Canyon de Chelly shirt on. And he goes, "Yeah, you got Spider Rock on there. That's really cool." He goes, "My grandmother owns the property that's right there." I don't know. I just thought that was fascinating.
My last thing I wanted to share was this place is fun. Like last night when we got to the South Rim, we were kind of trying to race to get to the sunset. And like Matt said, there's 8 stops along the way, but it was fun just going to stop and looking out and seeing what we could see. It was like a treasure hunt. Like, ooh, are there cliff dwellings here? Like that was pretty fun. It only took us an hour and a half to do that whole thing. And then, of course, going down to the bottom, you're going over a wash in a Jeep. And so very sandy, very bumpy. And then we're here in the spring, so we were going through water was splashing all over. So it was really adventurous. So I would say, like, don't discount this place. Like, it's fun too.
Got to take the top off the Jeep and splashing around. That was really fun. Okay, so hopefully we've helped you understand a little bit about what Canyon de Chelly is and why it's so special. And now just a couple tips if you're going to visit that we want to share with you.
Okay, first of all, is how long to visit. So you could easily do this as kind of a drive-through. I mean, if you
2 hours.
2 hours, like if you only had a couple hours, go to the South Rim, look over the viewpoints, and be on your merry way. But if you have time, we'd say do a day. Like go on a tour and watch a sunset here.
Yeah, if you do all the viewpoints, do the tour, that's about a little more
like
than half a day. If you get a meal or whatever, and if you could stay the night. So we stayed the night at the Thunderbird Lodge. That's maybe the next tip here is just lodging. So this is located in the town of Chelly, Arizona. That's at the border of the park here. And so there's like 2 or 3 hotels in Chelly. It's very, very small, so there's not that many. And then there's one that's inside the park called the Thunderbird Lodge. Probably any of them are just fine, but like those are the only options anyway. So we stayed at the Thunderbird Lodge, and that was a cute little spot. Yeah. And very peaceful also. So.
Nice and close and not crazy and crowded.
All right, good.
Okay. All right. Not too shabby, huh?
No.
Next tip is when to visit. This is the desert, and so it gets very hot in the summer, like over 100 degrees. And then the end of July through the beginning of September is monsoon season, so you do run a small risk of some heavy rain. So we think coming here in April or early May would be just perfect. And our guide was also saying that people love to come here in the fall because those cottonwood trees turn to golden yellow, and they love to take pictures of them. And
this place, late April for the desert.
Yes, and I mean this place actually does get snow in the winter, so know that.
Okay, where to eat? Here's what you need to know about the food. It's not very good in these parts. All the ratings on the restaurants are pretty poor. There is that one lodge in the park called the Thunderbird Lodge, and they have a cafeteria attached to it. So we ate at the cafeteria last night.
It was very similar to like what a school lunch would be. Like they have their daily menu, and so just
Why don't you give them your real thoughts on it?
No.
Oh,
if you don't have something nice to say, you don't say anything at all.
I'm trying to be helpful. It didn't look very good. I actually tried it, and it was better than it looked. But it's just, food to get you by. Okay?
He had this school lunch cafeteria, and
fried steak.
And I made myself a sack lunch of a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, so the other thing to get around these parts is the Navajo tacos. This is fry bread with chili on it. I actually didn't get that last night for some reason. I should have, but anyway, I got the chicken fried steak. But that's what you're looking at for food. Not many options, not all that good. There are a couple of fast food joints in Chelly. So a couple of other rapid fire tips here is bring binoculars. You really want to be able to see those cliff dwellings from the canyon rim, and even if you do the tour at the bottom, still helpful. We use those constantly throughout our trip here. Also bring cash, because the vendors will only take cash. So if you want to buy some Native American art, You need to have the cash. Also, I think you need to, oh yes, you need cash for the Navajo
For your permit.
Parks and Rec permit that you have to have if you're going to go in the canyon. So bring cash. And then also the time zones. This is super important. The time zones are crazy around these parts, around the Four Corners area, because Utah and Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, they're all in the mountain time zone. And this is kind of in the corner there. So all in the mountain time zone, that's great. But Arizona doesn't do daylight saving time. So when you go into Arizona, you are on, at least if you visit during daylight saving time like we are, then you change the time zone from if you're coming from Utah like we were. But then the Navajo Nation does use daylight saving time, and they take up a big chunk of the corner of Arizona here. So what's crazy about it is like our phones kept going over to Arizona time, but it actually needed to be on Utah time or on Mountain Daylight Time. It's a little bizarre, and one of the people we talked to at the visitor center said they missed going to one of the sites yesterday because of the time zone switch. I'm telling you, like you really actually have to do your homework. It's weird around here. And if you have a tour booked, it's really important to make sure you're on the right time zone because you want to show up on time for your tour. So our phones kept flipping off the time zone, and so last night we were afraid we were going to wake up late for our tour today. So we got a wake up call. I haven't gotten a wake up call since the 90s, and so we asked our motel to give us a wake up call to make sure we didn't miss the tour. So it's a weird thing. Okay, now let's also talk about a couple of things to do nearby Canyon de Chelly, because this is in the Four Corners region. It is really remote. It's hard to get here. It's not close to any airport. So if you're coming here, you're going to be doing this with other sites nearby. So we visited Navajo National Monument a couple years ago. It's another place where there's some cliff dwellings, a really beautiful canyon and beautiful cliff dwellings there. That's nearby. Hubble Trading Post is nearby. This is a National Historic Site, part of the National Park Service. We're going to go there actually right now after we shoot this video. We are also going to Petrified Forest National Park, which is further south. This is pretty closely linked and connected to Chaco Canyon Cultural Historic Site. Again, all these are national park sites, all the ones that I've mentioned. And so we're going to go there on this trip as well. Also nearby here is Window Rock, which is the capital for the Navajo Nation. So we're going to go there as well. And they have a Code Talkers Museum, World War II thing. Four Corners site you can visit. We think it's kind of lame, but a lot of people, they got to go stand in Four Corners at the same time.
Get their picture taken.
Mesa Verde, Monument Valley. Wow, just an amazing area. So that's why we're here on this trip.
All right, and so if you want more of the Southwest adventure, check out our playlist and watch the next video. Thanks for watching.